I've actually made a video about this before, but I was talking to a girlfriend recently, and whenever I feel like whenever girls hear this story, they really like this story for some reason. So let me appeal to my 2% female viewer audience. English is hard, right? So again, I've told this story before, but it gives me a chance to do something else because I don't really feel like playing video games for a while. So I'm gonna say the story why I actually don't say I love you, right? And some people like the story. I think because it sounds kind of epic or something. It sounds like, wow, that is so crazy. What a crazy epic story, right? But it's kind of like most stories I have in my life, I have a lot of crazy stories, but they don't actually have happy endings. So I don't know what to tell you, dude, but here's a story about why I don't say I love you, okay? So I think if anyone knows me or watches my channel, they know I haven't had like even as a child, well, even now I don't have that great of a life, but I didn't have like a super great life growing up, not a super lovey-dovey family, you know what I mean? And probably like a lot of kids, maybe there's one side of the family that's a little bit cooler than the other, right? Maybe like I had my mom's side was the grandma was a little bit nicer, right? You know what I mean? And but my dad's side, the grandma and the grandpa were not like friendly, right? It was always one of those things that whenever you went over to their house for whatever weekend it was, just like, oh God, do we have to go here again? Not this grandma or grandpa. It was terrible, right? And I remember, man, geez, I think for a couple of Christmases once they like bought us some like popcorn for Christmas. It's like, wow, we bought you popcorn for Christmas, just what you wanted, right? It's like, oh boy, you know. And it's actually kind of interesting because, I don't know if I said this in the first one, but as I got older, I ended up finding out my dad's side of the family is actually pretty well off apparently. But that's another story, right? I haven't seen the money, but it's actually I don't know if I ever said this. I'm actually the first person in my family that's ever used their real name too, from my dad's side, which is kind of weird, but that's again another story. And whatever the case, whenever you see these grandmas, and whenever you see anyone in your life, you're always supposed to be like, "Oh, I love you, grandma, grandpa, goodbye." You know what I mean? Like, "Oh, I love you," blah blah blah. You say "I love you" to people, even if you don't really mean it. It's kind of weird, right? But that's how you're brought up. Like, always say "I love you," blah blah blah. Well, anyway, so I got older, and eventually, my grandma was about to die, right? And as we were leaving, or talking, blah blah, my grandma was like, when you leave, when we stop talking, don't say "I love you" goodbye. She's like, I know I never did anything for you your whole life, and you should never say I love you to anyone ever again unless you mean it, right? And I was like, whoa. And I was like, and I was basically like, well, you're right. You never did do anything for me my whole life. You know what I mean? I don't love you. You know what I mean? And in a way, I'm sure that took a lot of, well, who knows? She's dead. She died. Short story shorter, she died right after she said that, right? And I was like, whoa. And I was like, even though she was right, I didn't love her, and I don't really love anyone, right? I don't love anyone in my family, probably really, but that's another story, kind of sad, right? I guess I care about some, but whatever the case, I was like, wow, you're right. I don't love you. I've never loved you. And I'm sure that took a lot of courage for her to say, maybe in her own way, right? Be like, hey, I'm here. I'm on my deathbed. I'm about to die. And she was like, Clayton, don't say I love you. She's like, I know you don't. You should never say I love you ever again to anyone else. And I was like, man, that probably took her a lot of courage because she boom, she died right after, right? But and so I was like, now I'm never going to say I love you to anyone ever again, right? I'm like, because you're right, I don't love you. You never did anything for me. So some people think that's an epic story. It's a true story. It's kind of weird, but again, it's like a lot of things in my life. It's an epic story. That sounds crazy, but it doesn't have a happy ending. But it's a true story. And of course, I've thought about, just in my weird life, I grew up unpopular. I had girls who used to tell me I was ugly. I had rocks thrown in my face, all this kind of bullshit. And then, then I became quotation marks popular. And then girls liked me for no reason. And even as you get an adult, and I'm sure everyone knows me, like, oh, someone likes you one minute, someone they hate you the next minute. Oh, they hate you, they like you. People are so fucking fickle, and I've talked about this in my vlogs, you know what I mean? Almost all relationships or interactions with people are just out of convenience. Most people don't actually care about you, right? So that's why I mean, I can tease groups like, oh, I love you. Oh God, I fucking love you right now, whatever you're doing. Like whatever you're doing, right? You know what I mean? Like, oh, I love you. You could say in a teasy way, maybe it's sex or sexual, whatever the fuck you're doing, right? man, I think I might fucking love you. What is this? Sometimes you go flirt with the girl. I think, my a girlfriend, she was like kind of joking, was like, what? And this isn't that I'm cool either, right? Because I'm not. But, sometimes they're like, wow, you're so like flirty and fun, blah, blah. Why don't you ever say I love you? Like, why don't you ever tell me you love me? And I was like, well, that's why, right? And like, oh my God, what an amazing story, right? But that's why, right? It's probably so I know how people don't really care about each other, so that's why I don't say I love you, because I know people don't actually care. I know even that girl I was talking to, I told her, it's like, what, you say you care about me right now, but I know there could be a time, dude. Might be a few weeks from now, a few days from now, maybe a year from now. You'll quotation marks hate me and we won't talk for a while. Who knows, right? So I know people don't really care about each other, and everything in my life has taught me that. Even from all these video game things I've told, I know any followers I have from video games, a lot of you guys probably don't actually care about me. You know what I mean? So that's just life, right? And I don't want to be a fake person. I don't like using easy words. I don't ever want to like appeal to someone's feelings in a fake way. I don't want anyone. I don't want to use anyone, right? And that's always been kind of one of my morals in life. It's not a super good moral to have because it's not a normal moral. Most people don't live their lives that way, but it's how I've lived my life. So and that's not that I'm not like a selfish person at times, or I have my own faults as a human being, but I don't want to be someone that just uses easy words to like use people. So that's why I don't say I love you. There's my appealing to my 2% female or viewer audience ship, right? Yeah.